to our City Hall. Welcome to our Civic Center. It belongs to the citizens throughout the entire city.
We have remained true to the idea that the complex that we all see here today is on the same site that Irving Gill proposed that we expand the Civic Center, which he designed in 1929.
The Oceanside complex is beautiful, but it is a Civic stage set. It has the unreal quality of a Broadway play that will close in 6 months. The artificial nature of the center does not involve the design per se. The problem is in the material used for the exterior walls. The city substituted a synthetic material composed of fiberglass foam and a thin outer layer of cement-like material. The stuff does not belong in a new Civic Center.
I want to welcome you to the new Civic Center, my office. I'm rather amiss at the fact that the architectural person for the San Diego Union had the nerve to come up and badmouth the whole building. And I'm going on record now to say that I don't know that she should be casting stones at Oceanside when you go down and look some of the monstrosities they have in San Diego.
I think there was an article in one of the San Diego papers about how the author wished the thing had been more solid, concrete instead of steel frame and drive it. And I couldn't help agreeing. I think that if more money had been spent to get a more long-lasting building, this will last for a reasonable amount of time, but I think there would have been a satisfaction in the solid concrete that would have paid back over the years.
The present council is now building a new city hall that will rival the Taj Mahal. This monument to fiscal irresponsibility will eventually cost you $88 million without a vote of the people.
The design, in our humble opinion, is going to be artistic, it's going to be beautiful, it's going to be desirable, with a Moorish instinct and lots of arches, with fountains and statues, and it really will be not only a beautiful building, but a very functional building.
I am very proud that rather than construct a towering office structure or a cold complex of steel and glass, our new Civic Center is a warm place. It is built on a scale that fits here in Oceanside's downtown, and it also fits the style of our community.
My two favorite places are the pond down on the corner of Hill and 3rd, the alluvial fan leading into it in the Palm Tree Islands, and as a whole I think that came out very much as we had wanted it to, and I think has created a very nice public space for the city of Oceanside to enjoy.
The original Gill concept of simplicity was the starting point. We wanted to include vibrancy and excitement in splashes of color, and that led to the extensive use of color in the tile, in the paint on the walls, the floor surfaces throughout the entire project in each building. Each building utilizes colors from the 29 different colors on the color palette, but each building has its own unique color scheme from that palette.
I think as a public building it's very important that you make an architectural statement. This building in particular was done for relatively low cost given the square footage, and our whole strategy through the design process, knowing that we're under an extremely limited budget, was to concentrate our efforts, design efforts, in a few of the most important public areas, primarily the public spaces and public lobbies.
Getting the project completed was the highlight of the project, and that was a very difficult task to A lot of people don't know, but we had a project manager, Bob, who died on the job, and I believe a lot of it was from the stress. Very difficult job to construct. We were making decisions daily, revising the plans daily, so it was a very difficult job. And we had a good team from the city and city council and the city staff all worked together to resolve many difficult problems on the job. And that was probably the most satisfying to me, was to resolve all the issues in getting the project built.
It's a wonderful turnout. So many of them are in costume now, and it's a festive day. Oceanside is arriving.
I think it's going to be the real catalyst for downtown. It'll be what we're looking for, where we're headed.
You know, it's been a long time coming. I can remember Frank Lilly, who was city manager 20-some years ago, saying we need a new city hall. And now we're going to be breaking ground for it, and we'll have it very shortly, about 12 to 18 months. Right after I soon got elected, there was a young lady as I went over to public services by the name of Ann Thomas. Ann, would you stand up out there, please? Because I think the people of the city of Oceanside owe her a big round of applause. Ann's worked with this project from day one. In fact, she started the project. Tell you how it happened. I went over to her office in April. And I standing there, it's kind of cool in the office, and I looked behind her desk, and there was a little heater, electric heater, and I said, Ann, what's that for? She said, that's to keep me warm. I said, keep you warm? She says, yeah, that's what I bring in the wintertime. I said, what do you do in the summer? She said, I bring a fan from home. I went back from there right away, and I pulled out the old archives and started looking around, and lucky enough, we had a council that had enough foresight, and I have to say enough guts as well, to step out and put together a package that you're looking at today.
The Civic Center has been a dream of a lot of us for a long time. We've known for many years that we needed to take such a step. And the first real step taken by the City Council was back in 1981, when we appointed a special citizens group to look at our problems, to look at our assets, to look at our properties, to look at the city's growth, the trends, and to designate a site where the new Civic Center should be. And they analyzed and studied this problem for nearly 4 years. And it was in 1985 that that committee reported back to the council and selected these 3 blocks as the site of the future Civic Center. Then in 1985, we wanted to really get the people involved on this kind of a decision. And the best way we could think of doing that was to come up with a design competition to select the designer and architect for the future symbol of Oceanside. And that's what it's going to be. And throughout most of 1985, we did have this design competition. We had a jury of citizens selected in the city. We had a backup panel of citizens. We put all of the top displays, or the top finishers, 7 top finishers and their product, on display in the branch library out in the valley. And we had literally thousands of Oceanside people come through and look at those and make their choice as to which design concept they liked best. Designs were finally judged in 1986, and the overwhelming choice of both the jury and the people who had selected the different designs in going through was Charles Moore, UIG, and Danielson Design Group. And with that selection, we started the process of negotiating a contract for the design, architectural design of this.
The actual budget of the Civic Center was about $32 million, and the budget started, has a lot of front-end costs. Part of the front-end cost was the cost of the architect, the cost of demolition of part of Hill Street, acquisition of property, and some competition. So it was a multi-year budget starting in right around 1986. The construction was on budget. However, there were some litigation costs that was over and above the budget, but that was unforeseen. But the actual construction was on budget.
Charles Moore's incentives in designing this complex was to carry on with the original thoughts of Irving Gill, who was one of the prime architectural pioneers in California.
Irving Gill was poetic and mystical by nature. He had a sensitivity to form, an understanding of how a building is put together, and a passion for simplicity. He firmly believed in the applications of democracy to architecture. Gill was a romanticist whom time has shown to be a realist. His references to the mission in his works indicated a romantic rage for the past rather than a sentimental attempt to recapture it.
When Irving Gill designed the City Hall and Fire Station in 1929, I don't think there's too many of you out there that were here in 1929, but at any rate, without telling you how old I am, I was here. Oceanside was a far different city in the 20s than it is today, in some ways. But even at that time, I'm proud to say that the leaders of this city envisioned the development of a civic center that could grow with the needs of the city. The Civic Center, which was designed by Irving Gill in 1929, encompassed an entire city block. But the Depression intervened, the Great Depression of 1929. So the building stopped with only the building of the fire station and the City Hall building. On June the 7th of 1989, the Oceanside Fire Station and City Hall had the honor of being included in the nation's official list of cultural resources and were placed on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior. That is quite a distinction for these buildings. Both of these structures today were erected in a far different time than today, as I've said. However, just as then, now, the city of Oceanside remains committed to providing a civic center that serves the people of Oceanside in the fullest sense.
The whole basis for this was the two Gill buildings on the corner of what's now the site. I admire Gill a great deal and have spent a good deal of time seeing his works. I love some of them. I think Gill is, in some part, an acquired taste. I think it's not easy, but there's some things of Gill's, like the way he made his white walls with echoes of other colors in them that are particularly wonderful and subtle and were very important to us when we were doing this. We departed from Gill in places like this central tile court, which is a good deal fancier than Gill would have stood for. But we thought on a set of buildings this big that we had to have some more dramatic and assertive things than Gill ever pushed for it, at least in his later houses.
I think that a strong case could be made that the writings and teaching of Charles Moore and the design projects in which he's been involved have formed the single most important positive influence in shaping new attitudes towards architectural design in this country during the past 20 years. I don't think that there has been an American-born architect of comparable influence since Frank Lloyd Wright. Moore has demonstrated that punch-out holes in solid walls, whether glazed or open, can go more places and do more things than anyone before in the history of architecture ever imagined. He's embarked upon wide-open exploration of the sensory and emotional potentials of skylights and light traps, view frames, light-washed walls, magical space enlargers, dappled and reflected light, plus the sheer joy of peeking through holes, and the wonderful negative shapes that cut-out spaces can make. No other living architect is quite such a virtuoso of stairs.
Of course, it's very exciting. This is the time it's all geared toward, and what everything has been about. There's a lot yet to come as we see how people like it, how well it stands up, what goes on, what new things get added, and what old things fall apart. But for me as a designer, it's always a little funny because most of the hardest work I did was back at the beginning, designing it. Of course, the space is what architects make, and we have to show it with two-dimensional drawings, and we think we have in our heads all the time what the three-dimensional reality is going to be like, and as I get older, I find I'm less surprised than I used to be. That is, the spaces come out like I hope they will, and I'm excited by these. Which is a fairly big set of buildings altogether. There's a lot of space here, or a lot of square feet full of people doing things. The hope was to have it responsive to one of the best climates in the world, and to have it, by the same count, accessible, easy to get to. And so the trick has been to have it sort of permeable by people and by the outdoors, and still not have it too confusing for people who come and wonder where the front door is and where to go from here.
I think the way that Charles Moore designs is a collaborative process. Much of the design for this Civic Center was done at his condominium at Sea Ranch in Northern California. We made several trips up there and what we call design charrettes, where everybody would sit around a table and have input into design and comment on various things that would arise out of that. If I recall, these torchères were a result of one of those sessions up at Sea Ranch. So at any rate, the design of the project doesn't stop at the end of what we call design development, where we turn it over to our associated architects to do production drawings, but we basically continue overseeing their work, continue designing details, and from that point forward, it was more my responsibility. I could handle that piece of work. My specific role, I guess, would be team leader for the design team. It is a large project, and obviously no one person can design every detail in the project. In this particular case, we won the commission basically through design competition. We had 5 other well-known architectural firms we were competing against, and presumably the jury liked ours the best and thought it was perhaps most appropriate. So we then had split the work up, basically the design work going with us being Charles Moore Urban Innovations Group, and the production work going to Danielson Design Group. So basically we did the design part of it, and as I've mentioned before, it's a team effort, specifically Charles Moore being the conceptual designer to a large extent. I had basically split the project up into components and had a person in charge of the library, one on City Hall North, one on City Hall South, and one on the fire station, with myself being sort of overseeing all of them and coordinating all of that.
I'm William D. Graber, and I was the project coordinator for construction on the Oceanside Civic Center project for the architectural group consisting of Charles Moore Urban Innovations Group and Danielson Design Group. My responsibilities were to oversee the construction as far as adherence to the construction documents, being the working drawings and specifications. We had to communicate and oversee the actions of the contractor and answer his questions that may have arisen during the course of construction. The buildings, while appearing simple on the exterior, are rather complex in the items that you don't see, such as the structural, mechanical, and electrical. The fountain, for instance, out front is a cooling tower for the mechanical system. The structural framework calls for numerous cantilevered areas from one building to another. The electrical lighting and the special design features which were built in are unique to this project. The color palette consisted of approximately 29 different colors. The story is that the colors were selected from a postcard which Charles Moore had received from Europe of a Renaissance painting.
As an introduction, my name is Bob McLean. I'm the project manager for Kitchell CEM that is the construction management firm for the City of Oceanside constructing the new Civic Center complex. My field engineer here beside me is Lori Nelson. She assists me in the daily work, and our main, should I say, project obligations are to make sure that the job runs smoothly, act as liaison people for the client, the City of Oceanside, with the architectural design firm, Danielson Design, and Urban Innovations, along with handling all of the paperwork, the meetings, the change orders, and the myriads of paperwork that goes on behind the scenes of getting a complex project such as this completed. I act as a supervisor, as the boss, if you will, of the Kitchell team, of which Lori and I are the nucleus. We do have assistance from the city with city employees in our office, and the amount of paperwork that occurs with our firm and the architectural firm and the city is actually, for a project of this size, is really unbelievable. The drawings, the working drawings, the documents consist of some 550 sheets, and sometimes it's a little tough to find exactly what you want on one of some 500 drawings. I would like to mention some of our day-to-day activities. For instance, we have a weekly progress meeting with the contractor, the owner's representatives of the city, the architect, and at these meetings we discuss the coming progress for the near future, the some problems that crop up or have cropped up during the week, and particularly items that need coordinating among the groups of various groups of people. We are involved with the city building department, the engineering department, the public works department. Glenn Prentice, for instance, attends these meetings, and he has been a real joy, as far as I personally have been concerned, to work with. Glenn is the type of man that if I ask him something, I get a straight answer from him. Further liaison occurs probably as much as 3 to 4 times a day with the architect or his representative, attempting to straighten out problems and work with him on various design changes, and our suggestions are taken, the contractor's suggestions are taken for the solving of problems, and it is a pretty much of a team effort, if you will, between the city, the architect, the contractor, and the construction manager. Everything doesn't go as smoothly as we would like sometimes. There are problems that get a little bit heavy, and there is a tendency perhaps to jump down each other's throats about things, but all in all, we've had a real happy relationship with all of the parties concerned, the city, architect, and contractor.
My job description mainly includes daily dealings with the product submittals and all the manufacturer's data for everything that comes together in the Civic Center. I also handle the change orders and work changes that come along and processing those and estimating and pricing them. I'm also here to help with the contractor if he has any questions or needs additional information. I deal with the architect's staff and his engineering consultants to get information for the contractor.
Most people don't really have a good understanding of what construction is all about. A building of this type with a lot of architectural features is even much more complex than just a normal office building of this size. And certainly I know the people don't understand this particular project, how difficult it was. Usually when something goes wrong, I'm the guy that they would go to first. Superintendent needs something that hasn't been ordered, or situations like that, or if there's a conflict with the plans, or just general problem solver. That basically would be a good description.
I'm cover a lot of different areas, operating through carpentry work. I work for Taylor Woodrow, and what we've basically been doing is all the structural concrete that you see on the site, and now we're doing a lot of the flat work, and we get involved in some specialized stuff in the buildings as well. All those areas are going to be covered with asphalt, and it has to have the proper amount of moisture in it in order to achieve the correct amount of compaction. When their sub base is put on underneath of the asphalt, we don't want it settling. So it'll be a nice, firm, and level roadway for everyone to traverse.
My name is Bill Bulmer, and I'm a tile setter doing ceramic tile work. Everything looks good on paper, but when you get down to the field, and what the other trades has done is making everything look, right, plumb and level and everything. So I was cutting tiles, different tiles that we need cut for, areas. A lot of these tiles here aren't full tile, so you got to cut pieces to make it, fit right for all the joints to line up.
City Council chambers took a lot of thought in designing. One of the things that the council was very concerned with is we were sitting up on a dais in the past, kind of like a judge. And we felt that since this is a community room, that we should be really all on a level. So actually, most of the seats are higher than the council seats, and this was deliberately done. The table itself has been provided with a lot of the state-of-the-art improvements, so the council members do have immediate access to the different diagrams, to the different exhibits being shown in front of them. It's going to be very interesting to see how the display items do work, because each seat in that room, and it does seat about 140, should have a clear view of all of the exhibits being shown. For larger meetings, where they go into the overflow area outside the council chambers, where sitting is also provided, we do have a couple of monitors and loudspeakers so that overflow crowd can see and hear what's going on. A lot of art has been designed into the ceiling of the council chambers and into the windows. The ceremonial doors going into it are 14 feet high and were specifically designed for this purpose. We think they do lend a real touch of dignity to that facility.
Our new city council chambers allow more people to view and participate in meetings. The large council chamber doors can be open wide for overflow crowds and expand the space into the lobby, where speakers and television monitors can keep them connected to the meetings. These new chambers have also allowed the city and Oceanside's community television to improve the quality of the cable cast on Channel 37.
Civic Center has several unique items. The council chamber doors were specifically designed by an artist for this project. The doors are rather large. Each door leaf itself is 14 feet tall. They're rather heavy in weight, and special design attention had to be made for the functioning of the doors. They needed special hinges and special door closers. The stained glass panels are unique in utilizing several different panes or types of glass.
The torchieres around the small fountain. Some people say they're palm trees, but they're torchieres. I am well aware that some have said these torchieres are controversial. Well, I'm sure that all of us know what a new experience it would be to have controversy in the middle of our city hall. I have watched with a lot of interest as people who work and visit this place have approached these torchieres. And I noticed one thing that's pretty consistent. Everyone stops, everyone looks, and everyone studies them. Some people sit or stand for long periods just looking at them. Everybody talks about what they mean. By watching all of this, I have reached the conclusion that they're not meant to be taken too seriously.
Well, one unique feature would be the item of the torchieres, which are the aluminum palm trees which you see springing forth between City Hall North and City Hall South. These were envisioned by Charles Moore, and then the construction process, numerous questions came up as to how these were to be constructed and tied together. These required a structural engineer's input and review and coordination by the architect. And since these do also have light fixtures on them, they needed to be coordinated through the various trades.
thank Senator Wilson for the U.S. flag, which will be used as the first flag of flags we will fly here at the Civic Center. Before we raise the flag, however, I have the privilege of helping rededicating the war memorial that has been part of our City Hall for 38 years. This memorial, which sits at the base of the flagpole immediately behind our stage, was donated to the city by the American Legion Post 146 on June 2nd, 1952, by the then Commander Joseph G. McComb. Today, the current Commander of American Legion Post 146, Douglas Adams. Rotarians around the world practice their creed of service above self. And in keeping with this creed as a symbol of their civic pride in Oceanside, the Oceanside Rotary Club has donated the main flagpole in our new Civic Center, as well as the holiday flag. This generosity is memorialized in the dedication of a bronze plaque at the base of the pole.
Welcome to our City Hall. Welcome to our Civic Center. It belongs to the citizens throughout the entire city. I'm proud to be part of it, and I want to thank the gentlemen that were on the council with me and the ones that are on there today that had the foresight and the feeling to say, let's do something in the right way and make it positive for the city of Oceanside. And here it is.
It seems that everyone is talking or writing about our new Civic Center. To me, however, the most important things are not what people say or what is written, but how people feel when they come here to this, their Civic Center, to interact with their government. There are many aspects of the design of these buildings that are open, inviting, unimposing, and just plain friendly. I think these are all qualities that are going to encourage Oceanside residents to become even more involved with their city government and to take advantage of its services. I am very proud that rather than construct a towering office structure or a cold complex of steel and glass, our new Civic Center is a warm place. It is built on a scale that fits here in Oceanside's downtown, and it also fits the style of our community. The design is fun, not bureaucratic. The feeling here is welcoming, not intimidating. The result, we hope, will be that our residents will spend more time, not less, at their City Hall. It's a place where we will gather for many years for special and ordinary occasions to reach vital public decisions and to celebrate the human and physical beauty of the community.
As an employee and resident of the City of Oceanside, I am honored to be speaking to you today on behalf of my coworkers. I feel I can speak with conviction about the serviceability of the new Oceanside Civic Center. Gone are the days when employees were spread over many city blocks. We can now offer one-stop shopping. Citizens may now enjoy library facilities, pay their water bill, apply for a building permit, look into job opportunities, or even pay a parking citation, all at the same location. The design of the entrance of our Civic Center guides the user to the appropriate facility. If additional direction is needed, an information kiosk and a receptionist are located within a few feet to provide assistance. Remembering that service is our first priority, I feel that these additions have enhanced the image the city projects. Working almost exclusively with the public, I've had ample opportunity to inquire as to the public's viewpoint. Personally, I have received nothing but positive, complimentary comments concerning the new center.
It's really a pleasure for me to be here today to participate in the dedication of this beautiful facility and addition to this very fine community. I have some very strong feelings about this because this is my hometown. No matter how far we travel or what we do or whether we serve in other offices or as I have, a mayor of another city, there's still that feeling of, as was so written in a popular book a few years ago, the feeling of roots. And this community is where my roots are. My family came to this community in 1873. Both of my grandfathers, Charles Libby and William Donovan Frazee, served in the early days of this city, one of them being a council member, the other one being a constable and the first justice of the peace in this area. And it was mentioned earlier that the Gill Building's Fire Station 1 was built and opened in 1929, and Councilwoman Chavez asked how many of us were here at that time, and I was one of those that held up my hand, and then I was counting that time and realized that my granddaughter, who is a resident along with her brother and her parents of the city of Oceanside, is the same age right now as I was when the Fire Station 1 was opened. So it really is a great pleasure for me to stand here and see the commitment that this community has made to preserving its downtown, and by putting this facility down in the center of the community and not going out somewhere out in the far reaches. And this will serve as a catalyst to make this part of Oceanside such a highlight of this great community in the future.
Never in my wildest imagination would I have thought as a young girl vacationing in Oceanside that I'd ever be here today for this dedication, let alone representing Senator Bill Craven. It really brought tears to my eyes to think that that would be allowed for me, that I would have this opportunity, and I'm very honored. On behalf of Senator Bill Craven, I too have a Senate resolution. You know, they say that all good things are worth waiting for, and certainly your City Hall is an example of that because it's truly a jewel.
We've talked about the architecture, we've talked about some of the people, we've talked about what we want this Civic Center to be. But I'm always mindful that when I was growing up and when you were growing up, when we were all growing up, one of the noblest professions and one of the noblest ambitions was public service. Let all who labor within these walls be ever mindful that they are here to serve and not to be served. And with that, I would invite the City Council to help me in the official cutting of the ribbon, and let's get this baby dedicated. Thank you.
Probably in my career, one of my more interesting experiences as far as building is concerned. It's not only relatively large, it's complex, and I think a gorgeous building, set of buildings, complex of buildings.
The Civic Center was originally budgeted at $27 million, and bonds were sold to finance that amount. However, numerous changes ordered during construction increased the cost by $6 million. The previous City Council took that $6 million out of the general fund and never made any plans for repayment. During the 2 years since we moved into the Civic Center, the city has been required to cut millions of dollars out of its operating budget, which is paid for by the general fund. It is clear that the $6 million that the previous council contributed to the construction of the Civic Center could have been used to cushion the impact of the budget crisis.
It's been an exceptional building for all of us to work with, and the architecture and I live in the area, so I'll be able to look upon it for a long time. A lot of times you get done with the site and it's a good distance from where you live and you can't appreciate it as well as I'm going to be able to appreciate this one.